just remember being on campus and being like, wow, I could really envision myself here. And so sometimes you just do not know how you're going to experience a campus until you really are there. And I would definitely echo what Alan said about visiting while students are around. We know in admissions that really students enjoy connecting the most with current students. Just hearing those experiences, getting those questions answered, and I would also add getting to see the facilities in your areas of interest. So if you're interested in studying music, getting to see some of the practice spaces that you might be using. If you're interested in studying the sciences, getting to see the different research facilities, meeting with some professors, kind of personalizing your campus tours as well, just kind of as you're getting deeper into the admissions process. That's just a very helpful way to get all of your questions answered in a very tangible way. And also being able to see residence halls. That's questions that we get a lot about what residence halls look like and what the layouts of them are and kind of what styles that we offer. And so getting that as part of your tour, just having everything in one is awesome, and making the most out of those tours is great.
I'll just add 2 tips. First, get off the beaten path. They want to show you the best parts of their campuses, obviously, but take some time after the tour and just wander. Go into the student union, sit, buy somebody a cup of coffee. It's amazing what you can learn just sitting and talking with students, and they're more than happy to talk, particularly for a cup of coffee. So that's one tip that I share. So the Common Application has essays. The big essay everybody hears about is 650 words. That's the essay people that have spent a lot of time on. They give you some choices, some set questions for those to answer. There's also the question of write and answer your own question, right? That's one of the options they give you. So my question is, the Common Application has a list of essay questions that can be answered, including ask and answer your own question. Should students feel pressure to create their own essay, or is answering one of the common questions a fine option? If so, why? And then the second part to this is, or third part, I guess, what advice do you give students when writing essays? We'll start with Alan.
So if you Google right now, 2024, 25 Common App questions, you'll find the full list. If you look at each one of those questions, there's a common word that will pop up. It's either you or your. And that's intentional, that's by design, because it's directed towards you as a student, for you to talk about your experience, to share your story, to share those experiences. If you have written the essay and you have not either shared your voice, you have not shared your experiences, or discussed how something influenced your decision-making process, or whatever it may be. If you have not talked about you have entirely missed the opportunity for the essay. The other part to that is, I promise you, as of 2024, that's the caveat, 2024, ChatGPT cannot write an essay about you.
Thank you.
It cannot. I've actually tried. I said, write an essay about Alan Ramirez. And it's like, I don't know who Alan Ramirez is. I was like, God, you gotta work on my brand. But that's the whole temptation there. I don't know what your advice is, Bob, but our advice in the admission office is, it can be a resource. It can help generate ideas, but it is not and should not be used to write the essay. And so that's the piece with those questions. It used to have, instead of design your own question, it used to be, we'll submit an essay that you've used for another class. When I write about Harriet Tubman, I'm not going to talk about me. And so, yes, I could demonstrate my writing capacity and ability, but you don't learn anything about me as a person. So that's the part there, because so many colleges have moved away from the interview. Okay, so an interview may come into play for a particular scholarship. So we're tail end of the Bonner Scholarship. Is a service award, and it comes with a certain level of funding, but it is a premier scholarship at Sewanee. Well, there's an interview part of that, right? So that's on the scholarship side, but on the admission side, a lot of us in colleges and universities have completely moved away from the interview. So if you don't talk about yourself, how else are we going to learn about who you are and what contribution you will make to our community?
Yes, I would definitely echo all of that. It's hard to add to everything that you said, but I would definitely say adding that unique voice, this is an opportunity for us to see who you are off paper. So what motivates you? What gets you out of bed every morning? Who has inspired you in your life? Some of my favorite essays that I've read have been about students' grandparents or their parents or different mentors in their lives. Those are so meaningful, and they really make me like lean in and just get fully engaged and immersed in the story. And so just, I would suggest before you sit down and write your essay, just sitting and reflecting on everything that has made you who you are, all of the different experiences that you've had leading up to that point, and just kind of dreaming about where you want to head in the future. And, you know, just drawing on support, any sort of support that you have from your school, from your parents, different mentors in your community, to really help you brainstorm those ideas. One of my favorite Common App questions is, I think it's reflect on a time where you challenged a belief, or there was a time where you had a certain belief and that has changed. And I think that really demonstrates that you are always learning and always growing. And so that's something that we like to see in essays as well, is just the growth that you have experienced and the ways in which you have been willing to learn about the world around you, and again, what you see yourself doing in the future.
Great. So looking back on your college search and application process, what do you know now that you wish you knew then?
Sure. So I had a pretty one-track mind when it came to the college application process. So I studied classical voice when I was in high school, and that was the one thing that everybody told me I was so good at, and I thought, okay, this is my one lane. The only really thing that I was involved in outside of the classroom was show choir and theater and performing arts. And so I kind of listened to a lot of people in my life who told me I was really good at that. And when I was looking at colleges, music was really the one lane that I was looking to do. And during college, that was something that I kind of felt tied to because I had done it in high school, and again, because everybody told me I was good at it. And so I really wish that I could go back and just get a better sense of, you know, get a broader idea of what majors are out there. I have loved learning more about Belmont and its offerings with that like, whole person formation outside of academics, leaning in on support from faculty members, social support, and the value of being at a smaller institution or a medium-sized institution. I work with a lot of students in the Southeast, and so SEC schools are often really important to students. They want a football team, or they want that like big school experience. But I would say, for me, if I was going back and putting myself in the shoes of who I was in high school, really leaning more into all of the things that a school had to offer outside of just the one specific major that I was looking to do.
Yeah, my college search process, graduating from a public high school that the high school counselor was way under-resourced, and I think I met with her at max twice, and in my junior and senior year, and so that's with like my mom was a high school principal. That brought its own challenges, but like you would have at least thought like the high school principal's kid would have at least had some attention from the school counselor. Nope. So I think here at SAS you have the advantage of someone, and Bob, that is connected, very connected to college admission directors and deans. And so having that as a resource is certainly an enviable position. But if there was something I could have done differently, I was really just, I was a late bloomer. So I didn't decide on college, so May 1st is our deadline. I didn't decide on college until July. So I did not pay attention to deadlines, and so what happened was I didn't apply to colleges early enough, and timing matters. So when you look at the composition of the incoming class, 30% of our incoming class comes out of early decision, and that deadline is November 15th, right? Then 55% comes out of early action. That deadline is December 1st, okay? And then the remainder comes in regular decision. Well, that's February 1st. And so that timing matters. And so as a kid, I didn't pay attention to those sorts of things. And so that's what I would really reinforce, is that timing matters. And if you look at the landscape, more and more colleges are shaping their classes, particularly the more selective schools. You see a little bit higher acceptance rate on the earlier side, and so developing the strategy in partnership with your college counselor is imperative, because you've got this college list, right? So whether it's a mix of public schools, private schools, or if you're looking at selective schools, understanding, all right, what are my options here? I really want to go to this particular school because of X, Y, and Z. Well, let's look at the landscape, particularly looking at the data for St. Andrews Sewanee students. What's the track record at that particular institution? What's the profile been? And having that data is certainly helpful too, but I would say the timeline matters, just for the admission side, and then also on those select scholarships as well.
Last question before we open it up. We'll start with you, Alan. What advice do you want to give students and parents going through the college search and application process now? What's one piece of advice or two pieces of advice that they should really know?
Yeah. So going along with the timing piece, so I'm going to talk to parents for a second. You are entering into, so it's April, junior, and there's probably some sophomores in here too. The temptation is to talk about college whenever son, daughter is in the car, or at the dinner table, or whenever it's really like, hey, what do you think about this school? And you really are, like, we as parents, we're genuinely interested. We're just striking up conversation, but the challenge point is, if that's consuming the conversation, it affects your relationship, but it also affects like how you navigate those conversations and the selection process. So I think my recommendation would be to identify times either the week that we're going to talk about college. And we agree, like we're going to enter into this conversation with that expectation. We're going to talk about college today, not yesterday or tomorrow, like, but it'll be today. So it doesn't become all consuming. Second part of the timeline is also recognize when we release decisions. Most early decision, early action decisions come out around the holidays. But also the applications are right before the holidays too. And inevitably we're together with other family members, and Uncle Bill, Aunt Sue, they have opinions. And they throw out these ideas of, well, have you thought about this college, or why are you looking at that school? You shouldn't go to that school. So as parents, having a clear understanding of what and why we have this college list, right? These are our uncompromisables. These are the things that we're looking for, whether it be location, academic majors, certain features of the institution, right? This is the why. And we're not negotiating on that. right? And so you have to run offense. I think that's the right sports analogy. Anyway, you have to be the one that says to Uncle Bill and Aunt Sue, like, nope, and either change the subject or defend that decision, because it will be that position of power really etches away and compromises the whole process, because I mean, you've seen it time and time again where a student will come in and say, yep, we're throwing that college out, or we're adding this one. It's like, where did this come from? Well, we're just one conversation. And that's challenging, because if you're going to find the right match, right, the colleges that really match and meet the needs of the student, then follow the process. Find those uncompromisables.
Emily?
Yes, I would say just having, for parents, open communication with your students, just transparency about, the college search process, having that open dialogue, being able to talk with each other. And I would say to parents, empowering your students to make the connections at the colleges. So we love speaking with parents, we love speaking with students, but it does make a great impression on us as admissions counselors when the student is the one that is empowered to make that connection. And so I would definitely encourage students in the room to be bold and to reach out to your admissions counselor and to reach out to current students, just taking advantage. Colleges all over provide so many different resources, whether that is campus visits, whether that is, webinars, different things you can get involved in. Social media is really popular for us. That's a great way for students to learn. So there are lots of ways as students that you can take initiative and just, really make those strong connections and see how you are a great fit, and parents being that support system and recognizing that it is an emotional process. I'm the oldest child, and so my parents went through all of this for the first time with me, and then by my little brother, third child, they were like, oh, this is a piece of cake. So I understand that this was an emotional process for my parents. It was emotional from college search up until they dropped me off at school. So just recognizing when it's okay to take a break, recognizing that there will be high expectations and there will be disappointment, and that's all okay, and that's all part of the process, but leaning on all of those resources with the different colleges. We're always here to help in the admissions office, and so I know your school counselor is another great resource helping you navigate that as well.
And I would add, even go as far as letting your student make the appointment to visit the college. It's really simple. They can just go on the website and do it. I've had students in my office, I've asked them to call the college. Watch that. They freak out. But it's really easy to have them do, and the more they're involved in the process, the more they tend to own it. There's an analogy, and I send out newsletters about this. Let your student drive the bus. They'll tell you where they're going, and you just need to sort of be along the way and provide the GPS directions as you're going. We do have some time for questions. I know I had to write down cards, but I think we're a small enough audience that I'll just jump up and hand the microphone around. So if you have any questions for our panelists, I know they'd be happy to answer them. Someone's got to go first. Best part of my job.
Thank you. I was just wondering, with the various changes in SAT requirements and not requiring SAT scores in some schools versus others, and then there was an application that's made up of multiple different parts. So what are college admissions teams putting most weight on when they look at an application, and when you're getting thousands of applications? What's the first thing you kind of go to and look at, and what makes you decide one application over another when you don't necessarily have that interview process anymore where you do the direct interview?
Sure, yes. I would say for us outside of test scores, outside of academics, leadership is a really great indicator of a student's success at Belmont. And so seeing those different activities listed on a student's resume, but also any leadership that they have taken part of. As far as the academic side, we love to see rigorous courses, so full enrollment courses, just any harder courses. We have the school counselor recommendations and school profiles that we're looking at, so we get a unique sense of where students are in school. And so for students who are going to a great school like this, that's definitely a great indicator of success. Building those relationships is important to us. And then seeing the students, again, unique voices. We also have on our applications a short answer question about, is there anything additional that you would like the admissions committee to know? And that is a really great place to indicate a student's interest in the specific school. With Common App, with students applying to lots of different colleges, we know students are filling out those applications, but it's really important to us to hear why a student wants to go to Belmont or go to Swanee. Just having that unique voice, again, that's something that we are definitely looking for, that makes students stand out in addition to the academic side.
Yeah, so what Ellen is getting to there is what we call demonstrated interest. And so, college counselors can help navigate that as there are some institutions that weigh into it, that is part of the conversation. So all things in a situation where students are presenting more and more competitive applications, so they're the transcripts, all A's, they're in a rigorous course load, and so that, okay, at these more selective institutions, where do you draw the line? Where does that come into play, and how do you decide? So that demonstrated interest at some of those more selective institutions, and Swanee takes it into consideration. Has a student visited our campus, or connected with us virtually if they can't physically travel to Middle Tennessee? So those sorts of things come into play because we are a distinctive community and environment, right? We're not in Nashville, Tennessee, and so if you're applying from Brooklyn, New York, and you haven't really visited campus, I'm going to question how serious is your application to us. So am I more prone to defer? So in early action, if a student applies early, we have the option to defer to the next round, to regular decision. So that signals to the student, we have some interest, but we also have some questions. Whether it give us some additional information on your transcript, maybe another semester's worth of grades, or an opportunity to connect with the admission office and really demonstrate, I'm serious about this. I think the misunderstanding for a lot of high school students is, I have demonstrated my interest, I applied. That is my interest. Well, it goes a little bit further than that. And so that's a large part of it. But again, navigating the pieces that are important to that institution, so understanding what the profile is. So you asked the question, like, where do you even start with the application? I inevitably, I have a friend who's now at Bucknell as the VP for enrollment, but he was at, not Bucknell, Lehigh. But before that, he was at Rice University. And he would always engage with the application as if it was a conversation. So it was real weird. But he would say, "Hi, Bob," and use it as an opportunity to that student is introducing themselves, right? Presenting them their best selves to the admission committee. For me, I'm looking at the transcript first. I'm looking at, all right, what is the depth that experience, as I mentioned earlier, that 3 years, because that's really all I see by the time a student applies, is that first year through junior year. And so that 3-year experience, are we seeing a consistent level of performance at a high level? Are we seeing an upward trend? Those are the two more preferable options the downward spiral. So those are some things there that, particularly on the academic profile, and understanding as you're shaping your college list, understanding the data as it relates to where has St. Andrews sent students successfully and what has been their academic profile, because it's not going to be the same as another private school or public school in Tennessee. Like, we read within context, and so we try to. We have the benefit of St. Andrews being right down the street, and we have a great relationship and understanding of the curriculum here. But there are other parts of the nation, other schools that we'll get an application every few years, and so we do our best to understand the context, but then we also read the students within that context. So I'm not comparing St. Andrews Sewanee against GPS or Macaulay. I'm not reading against one another. It is reading within the context of St. Andrews Sewanee.
Just a quick note about demonstrated interest. Students, they know if you open your email or not. So all those emails you get from the colleges, they know if you open them. And they also know if you answer back. A human reads those. So be careful how you answer back to those emails, because a human on the other side actually read those, right? Yeah, there you go. So there's a little tip for you all in getting emails. Yeah.
I can tell you how they know us, but it's a secret. They do know, right?
So, I'm curious how it works with early decision. I understand if you commit to early decision, you're basically committing to that institution. But the financial aid, you find out about that much later. What happens if you apply early decision, they get accepted, but the financial aid package doesn't meet what you need?
I just want to put so really fast, there's several different ways to apply to colleges.
Really quick, there's several different ways to apply to colleges. One's early to action, which means you can apply early, hear early, but no commitment. The other one's early decision, which they'll answer in a second, which you apply to one school, early decision. If you get in, you must go. And then there's regular decision enrolling. So there's the different ways you can apply, just to clarify the terms. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start with that. With our agreement within our national association is that so we operate by basically a code of ethics, right? That this is how we're going to operate ethically and to make sure that students are not disadvantaged because of financial ability. And so with that, that is the one loophole. If the college has not met the student's demonstrated financial need, they can back out of that early decision agreement. Now, note I said demonstrated need, not the demonstrated want. The family can want more money, but if based on the CSS profile, which is the College Board's financial aid application, and the federal application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, those two applications, we can determine the family's contribution. Now, we can have a discussion as parents to financial aid office, we can have a discussion of what is really reflected in that number as produced by those applications. Maybe there's something that happened in the last year because the FAFSA is taking in 2-year-old data, right? So it's the prior year. Now, something may have happened within this last year that affected your financial situation. That maybe the family farm just got sold, and you have this huge influx of income that's not a real, it's not a reality. That's not accessible revenue, or it may be more of a medical expenses. There are challenges with that are not reflected on the income tax reports. So those sorts of things. So that's part of that element. But that I would also encourage that has to be part of that discussion as you look at I'm just going to call them the highly rejected institutions.
I love that term, by the way.
Where they're in the single digits as far as acceptance rates.